Minecraft Championship Season 3 is just around the corner with MCC 29. But before it begins, I thought it was time to rewind the clock and have a look back at the last season to find out which teams were not only sensational but dominated their events, pushing for victory and beyond. These are the top 10 MCC teams of Season 2. But before we begin, this is done on coins from each event, so instead of getting mad that your team hasn't made it, let me know your favourite team in the comments section below. And whilst you're down there, make sure to subscribe as well, and help me towards 4,000 subscribers, because if not, my channel will die and I'll cry. So if you want to stop that from happening, subscribe. Anyway, let's get on with it, starting with 10th place, MCC 20's Green Geckos. We start off the list with a team that finished in 3rd, which goes to show how crazy that event was. I mean, what did Scott expect putting together the captain and Rambo? Of course they were going to come 3rd. Even worse, he put himself on that team alongside Filzer, as our 4 80s unfortunately just couldn't reach Dodgeball, which is extremely heartbreaking when you consider how well they did, getting a huge score of 21,376 points. And perhaps if we see them again, they might finally be able to get that victory. 9th place, MCC 16's Pink Parrots. From a 3rd place team to one that got the victory, they may have got 2nd, but the Pink Parrots were incredible throughout their tournament, with the Dream and CPK duo pushing their friends to the top with 4th and 5th place finishes, with Bad Boy Halo also doing excellent in his 2nd appearance in the event. But it was Finster's incredible dodgeball performance that helped the team achieve the win and placed them within the MCC Legend status with a score of 21,409 points. 8th place, MCC 18's Mustard Mummies. Yet another team that won their event, but this time they actually got 1st place as well after incredible performances throughout the event that really showed that Tubbo was desperate to get into underdogs, with this being his 1st tournament win, as well as Sylvie's, with it also being a first for Sapnab, with this being the beginning of his domination with 3 events won in a row, which is absolutely insane. The only person it wasn't a first for was Scott, who won his 4th tournament with this overpowered team, which you'd never guess, but Scott actually had a hand in making, getting a score of 21,661 points. 7th place, MCC 16's Purple Pandas. Of course, whilst we saw the eventual winners of MCC 16, one team actually beat them on points, which you'd never guess it, but it was also another major team, as him, Fruit, Green and the Beans formed a sensational team that absolutely destroyed and would have been worthy champions after getting a score of 22,160, being our 1st team to hit the 22,000 mark. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, but I'd love to see this team again in All-Stars to once again battle for the victory. But before we continue, if you haven't done already, please subscribe, because it would mean the world to me as a small channel grinding my way to the top. Anyway, let's continue onwards with 6th place, MCC 19's Cerulean Candy Canes. Candy and Fruit are almost the polar opposites of each other, so why did they work so well in this event? With Mr. Berries being joined by the wonderful Rye Guy Rocky, as well as Goomy and Awesome Dude, who performed a miracle in survival games, destroying the competition, all getting top 5 performances, and just beating the Red Reindeers and Emerald Elves to Dodgeball. Which unfortunately was all they could do, because despite a score of 22,243 points, they lost out to 5th place, MCC 19's Teal Turkeys. I mean, what did you expect from one of the greatest teams ever assembled, as the incredibly OP Teal Turkeys pipped the Candy Canes to the top of the points, as well as the win in Dodgeball, after Sapnap, Sneak, Tommy and Phil absolutely destroyed in the event that only a fool would have predicted them not to win. That fool being me, by the way, in case you haven't seen my MCC 19 predictions, while I somehow placed them in second, which is absolutely crazy, after they got a score of 22,288 points, and of course the victory as well, putting pie on my face. 4th place, MCC15's Red Rabbits. What happens when you put Dream with another S tier on his team? Well, apparently Scott hadn't learned from the previous 2 events where he'd done that, because once again we saw the Dream and Sapnap team win only 3 events after they last did. Of course, this time around they were joined by Michael McChill and the one and only Quackity, who dominated the event, destroying anyone that stood in his path, which meant that his team reached a score of 22,740 points, coming first place as well as bringing home the crown in Dodgeball. 3rd place, MCC17's Orange Ocelots. We start the top 3 off with a bang, as many people's favourite ever team comes up clutch in this absolutely insane tournament, which saw the wonderful Green finally grab a victory after so many close calls beforehand, with him, Pete, SB and the Dodgeball Queen herself, Full Symmetry, breaking the competition, doing wonderfully in the event, getting a score of 23,413 points, before pulling off an absolutely insane reverse sweep with a crazy 3v1 from Green that will go down in MCC history as one of the most legendary wins ever. 2nd place, MCC20's Aqua Axolotls. After mid-season break for the winter, I don't think anyone expected this, as the Aqua Axolotls came in with a bang, with this being a big event and an even bigger occasion for, of course, the one and only H-Bomb, who became the first ever 5-time winner with an absolutely dominant performance alongside Gemini Tay, Antfrost and 5UP, who all began 2022 how they meant to go on, being incredible. It has to go down as one of the biggest successes in MCC history, with the team getting a score of 23,580 points, as well as the win. But they weren't actually the best team in that event, because instead it was 1st place, MCC20's Yellow Yaks. Of course, only one team was strong enough to beat not one but 2 teams already on this list, as the Yellow Yaks come home as our champions, despite sadly not actually being champions after being beaten out by our previous team. Even so though, Illumina, False, Cub and SB7th placed 7th should all be proud of this absolutely insane record that they set this season, proving to be one of the best teams in the event over the past 2 years, with a score of 23,661 points that, unlike the win, can never be taken from them. But now we've reached the end of this video, which means of course I've only got one thing left to say, which is to thank you so much for watching, and as always, peace.